Hi, everybody. It's Mimi here. I'm so glad that you were able to join me on the website. I'm so sorry for the confusion in schedules, but we all know how games are and different things like that. Now, the technology I'll be showing you today is Statistics in Schools. It's an interactive data practical plan that brings census to the classroom. Now, I'm going to click on the website so that you guys can all see that this is the page that you come to, but obviously it's associated with the United States Census Bureau website. And it's actually kind of cool because once you use the search bar, it'll search the entire United States Bureau for you. So let's say that you want to find something on the Civil War, right? Then it gives you a bunch of different websites and links that you can click on that, have to deal with the Civil War, and then even post Civil War things because it'll just use the word war. And the best part is that it uses the entire United States Bureau. So you can see that our tabs here kind of changed. So that also means that you have, it can also be a little confusing, if you want to just get back to the education stuff, but no worries. You can use any of these resources and they're all official. So that's super nice, is that you don't have to really worry about like copyright or like, is this fraud? It's not. This is all actual data found from the United States Bureau, and it's really cool. You can also browse by topic of anything that you want or explore the data that was found by the United States Census Bureau. And if you just want to go back to the students and statistics page, all you have to do is just go back to the information for and click this education for educators and students, and it'll take you right back to this page. So no worries there. Now, their mission statement is that it brings subjects from school using real-world Census Bureau statistics to create materials for use year after year for K through 12 students. You can also, and now we're going to explore the site and how it helps in all different kinds of subjects, not just social studies, as we all mostly know that I'm a history major and that's my particular field of study. But obviously, not all it's used for. And also, kind of a fun fact is that it has different resources for different months. I think right now, we just finished or just entered Black History Month and Hispanic Heritage Month. So there are going to be a lot of different resources within these different months. So it's actually kind of cool that it keeps up with that. Now, kind of about statistics in schools. It's teacher design. Teachers help create this website and help create this app and program so that we all make sure that it's valuable and engaging for, as we can see, multiple grade levels and multiple subjects. It's also super easy to use. Obviously, it's free, so don't have to buy anything. It's easily customized. I want to emphasize on that because it still means that you have the freedom to control your own classroom, which is invaluable. And it also just has existing lesson plans. So if you just need a little bit of guidance or want kind of a nice little different change of pace in your classroom, you can kind of look at some of these other lesson plans, as we will in a few minutes. It's also very valuable. As we kind of enter into this digital age in society, we can see that having statistical literacy, as they put it, is beginning to become very important, especially as we, again, as they put it, a data-driven world. We're starting to rely so much on numbers and still kind of depend on it. So I think that's really important that our students learn how to do these things. Now, we can also see that these classroom activities are not just in history. They're for all different kinds of subjects, from sociology, the study of people, to math, which helps know people, but that's just my opinion. We're not going to focus on this Constitution Day, but you guys may see it a bunch. It's actually just something that they think is really important that we focus on the day of the Constitution and how to teach it and how to go about going about the Constitution. We're not going to focus on it, but it's here. It also has just a bunch of random fun facts or warm-up activities so that if you kind of want to spice up your lesson plans just by a little bit, then it has that for you as well. You can become an ambassador or partner, but we're also not really going to focus on that right now. Just some fun little facts for students if you want to give them about their states. And it also has a bunch of like random activities for students if they choose to use this website. Obviously, it's more for the teachers, but your teachers or your students could still access this website and kind of play around with it too if they wanted. These are kind of videos to kind of help you guide if you want to see if this program is right for you. And it kind of shows how different teachers use it, or how, why does statistics matter? Why should I teach it? Or how is our life changing by numbers? Some of these videos are very interesting and I would highly recommend them. Now going back up, we are going to click on the history page, of course. I'm a history major. I'm not going to focus on math. I hate math. But here we see that it gives us a bunch of history worksheets to work from. So obviously there's a whole bunch of different places to pick from and different sources and different lesson plans to pick from that we can choose to look at, choose to kind of like not steal, but of course, you know, build off of and build our own lesson plans off of, or you can just take the lesson plans from it in general and just kind of apply them in your classroom however you choose to do so. So why don't we click on this one? And this is what you'll see when you click on a lesson plan. Now, these are super cool, is that they give you teacher's notes, and it's actually things that we're using in our classes and how we analyze, how we're, excuse me, how we, go about teaching our students. So obviously we see that in Bloom's taxonomy, we're using the third little graph here on the pyramid, and their students will analyze education and data from African Americans from 1850 to 1880. And then it's going to tell us that, oh, this subject is more for middle school. I mean, obviously, if you want to use it for a high school setting, you're more than welcome to. It tells you the topics that you're kind of be going over. So if you maybe you haven't gone over some of these, this is also like a good start of like, how do we get into this lesson plan? How can we use the activity used for it? And, how do we get into it? These are kind of the topics that we'll be going into, and that kind of gives you a nice little guide. And it also tells you that the skills that it will teach and kind of help guide your students through. So it's a very nice little teacher's note over here. I think that's super cool. It also give you, so when you first see it, it'll give you an activity description on what your students will be expected to do in the activity. Then it'll give you the suggested grade level. You can use this anywhere from 7th to 8th grade. Obviously, as a high school history teacher, this maybe isn't the best lesson for me, but as for somebody who's maybe more in the middle school range, this would be perfect. It just gives you the materials required. So obviously it's just the student version of this activity, which is given to you here on the bottom. And then, so this will approximately only run 45 minutes, and that's because it's in a middle school setting. So obviously, if I only have 45 minutes to teach a lesson, this is perfect. But if I need to go over these topics first, then I can establish a couple lessons in a string together to introduce these topics and then introduce this activity. And it gives you some learning objectives so that if you didn't have goals of your own, or maybe not exactly clear goals, then you can see that this gives you, really clear, specific goals that your students will be striving for and trying to achieve. It also gives you kind of like some different items or resources that you can use at any time, during this activity. And you can access these by just searching them in the search bar up here, and it'll pull it up right for you. So that's very nice and very cool. Also, it'll give you a little bit more additional resources. So this is something from the Census Bureau itself. And if you click this, which I'm not going to because I don't want it to change my page, but if you click this, then it'll give you more access from the United States Census Bureau website directly, and you can use that as more sources, or you can use that as something for your students to explore on their own if they wanted to. Now I'm going to show you the teacher version first. So, all you got to do is click on it, and then you can obviously download it to your computer if you choose to save it. Like, obviously you don't have to, because you can just pull it up on your computer like this, and it's no big deal. This is kind of initially how it looked like. Again, it has all the information that we just saw on the website here on the lesson plan as well, so that, in case you forget how long this activity makes, or how many skills are taught, or what skills are taught, what topics you may need to go over beforehand. So, and then it also goes over materials required again, and activity items that you can use. And then here's another link for another resource that you can use. And here I can actually do that because it's super easy. So I'll click this, and it'll kind of go into the website and kind of just an additional resource that you can click throughout the lesson plan and keep for yourself as you go. Oh, and here's another nice one. It also just gives you the Common Core standards that you'll be working with, and it'll give you, if you want to go over some standards and add some or lose some, then you can go into this link right here and look over the standards and see what you want to do. But obviously this is going to go over not only history, but this is going to go over some English language arts standards. So that's nice, and it'll tell you how it's going to do that. And then it dives into a whole bunch. So that's super nice. Here's our Bloom's taxonomy again, and kind of how it applies. and how we fit into this pyramid and what we'll be doing in it. So this is another super helpful thing that I found is that it'll give you teacher's notes. So it just kind of give you little tips if you want to teach this lesson and how to go about it. Now, this is stuff that you should do again before the activity. Make sure that students have all these understandings of these things and how, why was the Reconstruction important? Which states were considered North and South, which may actually surprise some people. Just make sure that everybody has an understanding of these ideas before they move on. And then during the activity, it kind of has suggestions for what you should be doing. So obviously it doesn't say that, you should guide them through the worksheet. It says that you should just be there as a source so that if they get lost or confused. And then, also choose the appropriate secondary sources, which we all saw it gave us back on the website and actually on the lesson plan. So this is some of the sources they gave us. Here's another one. So we can kind of go through those our sources ourselves and see which ones are appropriate. Then after the activity, this is just a suggestion. Obviously, you don't have to do any essays or any parts of their essays if they don't want to share or if you want to do something different. But this is just a suggestion of what you could do. And here's another additional idea. If you were kind of still stuck on how to go about this lesson plan, it'll kind of give you further hints. So this is super nice. This is kind of like a teacher cheat sheet, so to speak. And I'll show you that they have a student version. I'll show you it in a few minutes, but I still kind of want to keep going through. And again, it gives you the activity items, it gives you the student learning objectives. It just makes sure that everybody's aware of what they're doing. Now, here is the beginning of the worksheet. Everything in green is the answers to the worksheet. They obviously don't see this, but this is something that you could have as an answer key and give it to your students, when they're done, or you can keep this for yourself so that grading is easier, or, you can have the students you can have whatever grading system you want if you want students to grade themselves or have their partners grade them and then post this up later. But, these are answers meant to have, very specific answers. So, obviously this chart is supposed to be filled out like this. And and this is kind of the cool part, is that it gives you just, the general answer of what you're looking for, but obviously you can kind of determine if your students got it or not. And they can also probably judge by themselves. But it's just super nice that you have a nice, really clean, guided worksheet that not only guides you through what they're seeing, but guides you what you should be looking for. So also this is kind of, open-ended paragraphs, and obviously you need to grade these yourself, but at least it gives you them and what you're looking for, and it also gives you a recommendation of what you should be looking for while trying to grade these paragraphs, so that you have a little bit of a guider through your grading and teaching as well. And then it gives you a primary source of what these sentences used to look like and what these numbers were and how they're supposed to use these charts and their previous answers above, so that you know exactly what they're looking at. And maybe if a chart isn't clear, then they give you the link down here. I know it's sideways, but they give you the link down here so that you can copy and paste it and try to print it on a bigger paper or a bigger screen, or put it on a bigger screen so that everybody can see it in a clearer light. So yeah, there's the teacher version, and I think it's actually super helpful and super structured and organized, which for somebody who's not very structured and organized, I think that's very nice and very neat. Now we're going to look at the student version, which is very easy. We're just going to click here. And obviously you can print these off for your students, or you can just download it and copy and paste it into a Google Doc or a PDF and have them fill it out online if you want, however you choose to be comfortable with. And also, for your students as well. But look, they have the activity items. So some of the items that you're supposed to give them and resources that they're supposed to use. They have their learning objectives so that they understand, what they're supposed to try and get from this or what they're trying to learn. And then they have their worksheets. So, this is kind of what they're looking at from their end and how they're supposed to take all these information for themselves. And then, yep, it gives space for the paragraphs right here so that, you don't waste paper, because we don't want to kill any more trees. And that's super nice and super friendly. But obviously if you prefer typed answers, then, have them write these in a Google Doc or a Word document. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, considering most people know how to use those. And if not, I don't think it's that hard to demonstrate how to use a Google Doc anymore. since we're entering this digital age, as I said earlier. But here's their charts. It's the exact same as yours. Again, these worksheets are just hand-to-hand copies. And also, what's super great about this is, like, let's say you don't want them to answer question 2. Maybe you don't think that question 2 is very useful to your lesson. Well, then, you know what? There's nobody telling you that you can't get rid of it. That's the great part of this, is that you're just kind of using these lesson plans to however you want to use them. You still have a lot of freedom of how you want to go about these lesson plans and how you want to go about trying to teach your students these skills and these activities. So there is no pressure if you don't necessarily like everything on this worksheet, or you don't necessarily like how they're using all of these primary sources. You can kind of go about however you want to go about it. And that's super awesome. So now we kind of go about that. The last kind of little thing that I wanted to go over was this little tab bar up here. This little tab bar is kind of like everything that you would use using students and statistics, and kind of how you would use this United States Census Bureau website to your full advantage. This just takes us back to the main page that we saw before. So it's just an overview on how SIS works and kind of how you would use it. And then let's say you teach multiple subjects. Let's say that you're not only history and social studies, but you're also geography. So obviously you can click on the geography page and it'll give you geography worksheets. And you know what? Maybe you only teach geography from 6th to 8th grade. It'll censor anything that it thinks, can be 6th to 8th grade material for you and organize them in very nice organized patterns. And then, so home and distance learning activities. So this is very nice for when, obviously we're going through COVID term. So for teachers who are trying to figure out different activities to do at home, this is obviously a very useful link, and you can just click it and it'll give you some different tools that you can look at. Look, it even gives us tools for parents. Then it gives you all different kinds of different resources. So like not only fun facts, but videos, pictures, visualization. It helps kind of everybody go through all these different things. Then we see that they can also be organized by grade, so that let's just say I just focus on grades 9 through 12. Then these are the grades that they are recommended, and then they nicely and neatly organize these into each individual grade, so that if I was just a 9th grade teacher, I can look at all these lesson plans and different things and just find whatever one works for me. Now, these resources page is really cool. Again, we're not going to kind of ignore the Constitution Day. It makes a really big deal. But so let's say that I want to continue teaching my kids about how to read data. Then I can have these tools right here. I can have fun facts. And again, here's kind of like the games page. Again, the games are kind of lame, but there's something to do if your students actually manage to get onto this page and they want to play around on it a little bit. This is not cool math games, but it is what it is. So then here's like a great resource for using primary and first document and primary images. Like you can just click on this link and it'll take you to a whole bunch of official first sources that you can use, and original readings and all different kinds of ways that you can use these programs and use them for your resources within your classes. Then it'll kind of teach you about the census and different maps, monthly highlights, again, kind of how I talked about how they just did a Black History Month special and how they're going to continue kind of having those. So, this month is Earth Month, so they're going to have a bunch of green Earth Day things, and, how we can save our planet and different resources for that, which is also very helpful. Keep your students in the loop of how months work and what months represent different things. And then this is the same thing as the historical documents and images. This is just videos that are very helpful and can be very useful resources. Then these are visualizations. So if you need more visuals added to your presentations to kind of hype it up or help kind of read graphs and things like that, then this is a great resource for you. And here are warm-up activities if you just need to spice up your lesson plan in the beginning a little bit and kind of get your kids' minds going. Then here's kind of some standards. So obviously, like if you kind of forget what standard you want to use or kind of want to pick a different one, then you can go to any one of these sources and it'll take you right to the Common Core standards that the United States Census Bureau holds. And I think it'll probably have a couple for different states and different things. So obviously here's UCLA, and then here's Common Core, and you can click on any one of those and yeah, and then here's the about page. So the about page kind of gives you like, how does this program benefit you and how can it? So if you still have doubts, then it will give you all sorts of different resources and things to look at so that you can choose for yourself. And then it's still, so if your students are still having doubts, then you can go to this page and have them read this page, or even you can read this page before you choose anything and before you want to make an official decision. You can even download it in PDF. That's super nice about everything on this website, is that you can download everything in PDF so that it looks all nice and neat on your computer. And then, here is some ways, just more ways to help teachers keep up with going on at the news, how you can partner, and how you continue to get more resources. In the end, I think this resource is particularly great as it is easily accessible, it's free, it gives different perspectives and different kind of views on how we would go about a certain lesson plan. And it also gives us more of the freedom that we teachers want within our teaching. It just gives us kind of a general direction on which way to go, but we can still use that in whatever way we want to go. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you guys have any questions, don't be hesitant to email me. I will try to answer you before Thursday or even after Thursday if you have any questions about this site, and I can kind of help you figure out if this website could be for you. I'm so glad that you guys were able to kind of be patient with me and my schedule. I know it's super crazy with games and such, but thank you guys for your patience. I will now stop the recording, and thanks again.